you today? I hope we had a very good sleep. Welcome back to my channel where we're about that breaking cycles life. Now, for today's encouragement, we are going to the book of Philippians. And yes, it's also a popular, as you can tell, I've been doing a lot of popular verses since the other day in Jamaican dialect. But we'll be going to the book of Philippians, and it's Philippians 4 verses 6 and 7. Now I'll read for you. And of course, we'll be reading from the New King James Version. It says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." Be anxious for nothing. That's not easy, especially when things look as if they're going to just go awry. It's a very hard lesson to learn to not be anxious when things aren't going the way they should be going. But God is telling us that we should not be anxious, but we should, through prayer and thanksgiving, present our requests to Him, and the peace that passes all understanding will guard our hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. I didn't want to misquote it, so I was looking. So yes, be anxious for nothing. So I think the best way to bring the meaning of this verse to you today is through this analogy of Cape Pure mathematics. Yes. So if you're familiar with that phrase, you know that I am from the Caribbean. I'm from Jamaica. And at the end of our 5th, 6th, and 7th year in high school, we do regional examinations, which basically determine how we progress. And we do them in our specialties based on the career field that we desire to do. So being that I wanted to be an actuary, mathematics was a key subject that I had to do. So thinking that, oh yes, CXC mathematics, I was stressing about it, but it was still good. It was a good examination, and God be praised, got a distinction. But going into Cape, I always heard, oh, Cape is so hard. Cape Pure Maths is so hard. It is. I will not deny that. It is difficult. And I was so scared. I got so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I even going to pass this subject? I was so scared about failing this subject because I've heard the rumors that this subject is not easy to pass, and very few people pass this subject on the first go, right? Or even if they pass, they don't get a desirable grade. So they would not be getting a distinction, which would be a 1 or a 2 in Cape, or they would either pass with just a pass, which would be a 3 or a 4, not 3 or 4. It would be a 5 or 6, and then, or a normal pass, which would be okay, but not so okay, which would be a 3 or a 4. So I, being the type of person I am when it comes to my schoolwork, I do not want a 3 or a 4. I would be okay with a 2, but the desired grade is a 1, right? So being so scared of this exam, I remember, and then going, I was like, okay, no, let's not be fearful. Let's not be anxious about this. We're just going to go and do this test, right? Or do this course. So when the school year began, I was in my nice 6th form uniform saying, yes, I'm going into mathematics class because, I got 1 in CXC. So what is pure maths? Right. And then my eyes opened when I realized that they were teaching, and for some reason I was not understanding what they were teaching. I was like, wait, what is happening? What's happening? I'm pretty sure this concept, as in, you can have a slight understanding based on what they're teaching you in class, but then it's not necessarily the full depth of what you need to know. So still trying to understand this subject so far. We had a 6 weeks test in this subject, in maths. I think I barely passed that exam. I think because I know majority of my class failed that exam. I think I scraped it with like a 60 something. I was like, whoa, this is not a joke, because usually my maths grades are not so low. I'm like, what is happening to Shani? I'm like, no, this should not be working right now. Like, nah, it's not happening right now. So I was like, okay, need to buckle down because can't see these grades again. And I was like, okay, maths, pure mathematics, can't fail this exam. So my anxiety got the best of me, and this anxiety, I would say, kind of pushed me to do something good, because whenever I get super anxious about a subject, you'll see me scouring, going about the place, wondering, oh my gosh, what to do. You'll see me in the book saying, oh my gosh, let me learn this, and I'll try to be studying. I'll have not panic attacks, sorry. I'll have nervous breakdowns. You'll see me on the bed, be like, okay, okay. But I realized early on that I needed to start. So even though I was anxious, it wasn't as bad as if I had limited time. So being anxious, it pushed me now to studying, practicing. If you can ask my friend, especially my friend Dina K, she'd often see me on the board at lunchtime or any time of the day, morning, lunchtime, or after school, if I'm waiting for the bus to come so I can go home. You see me on the board trying to figure out a problem in math. I'm like, okay, trying to figure it out. And then I remember, like, whenever I'm stuck on a problem, like my friend Ronique, she would always be like, Shanique, it's okay. And I'm like, it's not okay. I don't know what to do. Why is it not working out? I don't know why it's not working out. This would literally be me. And then she would often draw a flag on the board beside the problem, and she's like, I surrender. The peace sign, to say the surrender flag, that when you're going to war, one side would be, if they give up, they have a flag to say I surrender. So she'd often draw that on the board to say, and I'm like, no, I don't surrender. I'm not surrendering. But and she's like, okay, but she was doing the same subject as me, but she was just like, tomorrow I'll do it again. I'm like, go away. So my anxiety really got the best of me, and I prayed, yes, but I don't think I prayed as often as I should have, and I wasn't necessarily being thankful. I was more being fearful. So that anxiety caused me to have fear, and that fear pushed me to study more, but I needed not to have that much anxiety, because God said he would have been with me and he would have carried me through and he would have given me peace. So why was I being anxious? And thanks be to God, when I did that exam, even though after that exam I cried, I was like, mommy, this exam was not good. I was like, mommy, this exam was not good. And I cried. That exam was difficult. When I say it was difficult, it's actually, I've asked persons who did pure mathematics after us, and everyone, when they say, oh, you did 2011 Cape pure maths paper? Really? I was like, yeah. And then I tell them my grade, they're like, you passed with a grade 1? I was like, yes. And thanks be to God, after all that crying, after all that stress, after all that anxiety, which I really didn't need to be exercising, honestly, I was even surprised to see my grade, because I was expecting probably a 3 or a 4. And then when I opened the portal, and that portal was jam-packed that night, so it even added to the stress. I was in the house and my mom was there looking at me. She's like, oh my gosh, please don't fail this exam. Because I told her, I literally came home from that exam distraught, because that exam was not easy. And then when I opened the portal and I saw Cape Pure Mathematics grade 1, I literally screamed down the house. I was like, how is that even possible? Because that exam and this grade, it doesn't go together. Because I was like, and literally, I think it was about, I'm not sure, I can't recall properly, but I think it was probably 3 or 4 of us that actually scored a grade 1 in that exam. And it just goes to show that I really needed not to be so anxious. Yes, I know we can say, oh, if you weren't anxious or if you weren't fearful, then you probably wouldn't have studied that much. That's not true, because now, in doing this degree that I'm doing now, I I'm not so anxious. And yes, I start early, and I start exercising faith more, and I'm praying more about my subjects, and I'm still getting good grades. So it's not necessarily the fact that I had anxiety which caused me to get that good grade. The point is, I should have not been anxious about this exam, because God already foresaw the future and He knew what grade He was going to give me, and He just wanted me to trust Him, to study, yes, because it's not like I would have not studied. Not being anxious doesn't mean you don't prepare for the test ahead, but I wouldn't have been so flustered or frustrated about the exam, or even after doing the exam being so distraught. I should have just placed it in God's hand to know that it was going to be okay. And this is my admonition to you today, that when it looks difficult, it doesn't mean that we should get anxious. It's not easy to say that or to do that. I know, especially with my example that I just gave. It's not easy to not get anxious, especially when something needs to be done and it seems like it's not going to get done. It's for us to practice, because this is our Christian journey is actually practice in trusting in God. So being not anxious, we should place that situation in God's hand consistently on a daily basis, to say, God, you will handle this. I need not fret, I need not worry, I need not be anxious. So by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, be thankful, speak it into being, manifest it, to say that yes, I know it will work out. I know that I will pass this exam, for example. I know that this will work out for my good. I need not worry. Placing it daily into God's hand is the essence of this verse, and not to be so frustrated, so bombarded with our situations or problems that we take it upon ourselves and leave God out of the equation. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to consistently, on a daily basis, give it to God with prayer and thanksgiving, and trust that it will work itself out and it will be okay. And the peace that God gives you, it passes all understanding, and He will guard your heart through Christ Jesus. So be encouraged today, guys, and go out today and conquer the world, and don't be anxious. Bye! Have a great day!